this orientation every second Tuesday of the month. So please tell your friends and family about this meeting. We will honor your time and go ahead and get started. But first, by way of introduction, I am Candace Turner. I am the Director of Home Ownership here with Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, and I will pass it to Flora.
Hi, my name is Flora Valdez de Pena. I am the Director of Communications, Communications Coordinator. Whoops, didn't mean to give myself a promotion there. Communications Coordinator for Maggie Walker CLT. I kind of run the Zoom meetings and our website and email list and all the things like that. So thank you all for being here. And just a quick housekeeping thing. Please keep y'all's microphones muted and cameras turned off when you are not talking. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube and will be available to watch afterward. So anything you say over the microphones will be out there forever.
Thanks, Flora. Elizabeth?
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Munyon. I'm the Home Purchasing Coordinator with Maggie Walker. So you'll be working with me when you're under contract and in the process of becoming a homeowner. I'll pass it to Shabana.
Hi, I'm Shabana Shaheen. I'm the Stewardship and Engagement Coordinator, and I will be working with you once you've finished the home buying process with Elizabeth and all stewardship that comes with being a homeowner and being a part of our Maggie Walker family.
Thank you, Shabana. And Jen, I believe you're online. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. All right, I am Jen. I'm Jen Cox. I am the listing broker with the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, and I will be assisting you and your realtors when you're ready to look at a home, coordinate anything involving the real estate transaction, and helping you navigate to closing. So I'll be a part of almost every part of the process in working with the home ownership team.
Thank you, Jen. And Jen's information will be in the chat. If you don't have a realtor, please reach out to her as well. I believe we do have some lenders on the call, so please feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well, lenders.
Good evening. This is Mary White with Town Bank Mortgage. It's wonderful to be here with everybody. This is a wonderful program, so I think you're going to be really excited by everything that Candace and the rest of the Maggie Walker folks are going to share.
Good evening. This is Tanya Irizarry. I'm with Virginia Credit Union. I'm one of the mortgage loan officers also assigned to the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. And I hope that you guys are in for a treat tonight, learning about this program and all of the benefits.
Thanks so very much to our lenders, to our team. Jen Cox, her information is there, and I do ask the lenders to put your information in the chat as well. And we will definitely talk more, everyone, about the lenders, and you'll also hear from Jen again as we move forward. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss today. I don't know if anyone has heard of a CLT or a community land trust, but we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about eligibility requirements and the benefits of owning through a community land trust, a CLT. We'll also talk a little bit about the ground lease, which is what makes this program unique. You will see a little bit more about the homeownership process through Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, and we'll go through that a little bit step by step. Okay, next slide, please. So we want to know a little bit more about who's here, how you found out about the program. So feel free to utilize the chat and or come off of mute. While you're doing that, you should see a questionnaire that has popped up. If you have called in and you don't see the questionnaire, don't worry about it. It's fine. This just gives us an idea of who is on the call with us. So take a moment, if you don't mind, to complete the survey that should have popped up for you. It's one question. Okay, so it looks like 77% of who's here today are people interested in purchasing a home. That's awesome. We have some real estate agents, people that are just interested in knowing more about the program and or involved in affordable housing, and then 8% in another category. So welcome to each one of you. We're excited that you are here to be with us today. So moving forward, and again, please feel free to utilize the chat, but let's talk a little bit more about the program in and of itself. So the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust Homeownership Program is an alternative route to homeownership, meaning this isn't the only route, but it is a route to homeownership. And so we create opportunities that are provided to qualified buyers. Those qualified buyers will purchase the home and lease the land underneath the home. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. But a community land trust, all community land trusts are based on that premise that you purchase the home and you lease the land. And we have permanent subsidy that's put into the process, which decreases the amount that one pays for the home. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit more about the history of the program and Maggie Lena Walker. Every time we have this info session and in any space that we find ourselves, we mention and honor her by speaking her name, Maggie Lena Walker, who founded the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank right here in Richmond, Virginia. It was later called Consolidated Bank and Trust. One of the branches, although it is not that bank anymore, is right downtown in Jackson Ward. So Maggie Lena Walker was an entrepreneur. She, of course, was the first Black woman to preside over a bank nationally, but she believed in community. She believed in providing space and opportunities for people of color, understanding that there were disadvantages in community, in business, in acquiring property, in addition to entrepreneurship within communities of color. So she started the Luke Savings Bank. She paved the way for business owners and community members. So we do this work in honor of her. The picture that you see, that building is still up. So it's right on the backside of Gilpin Court. So you can drive past that and see that what Maggie Walker started it still exists, even though that building isn't open. So we do our work in her name and in her honor. Next slide, please. So most may not have heard of a community land trust, or if you have, maybe it's just in the most recent years. But community land trusts are not anything new. It was birthed out of the civil rights movement. So Black citizens who were sharecroppers and were found to be registered voters were, in essence, kicked off of their property or kicked out of their homes. And so several got together along with other Black activists to put their resources together and to design a program, Community Land Trust, that was shared land, ownership of the homes, and shared land. And so this was the birth of a community land trust, with the first community land trust being New Communities Incorporated. It initially started with farmland and then subsequently moved past and forward to home ownership as well. It is also a way that we counter environmental justice and racial and economic injustices that often happen to people of color. So again, this is what we're birthed out of, and it's nothing new. And this is really the history of all community land trusts, not just Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. Next slide, please. So in acknowledging that home ownership is a wonderful thing, it's something that a lot of people dream of, we also acknowledge that it can make you excited and nervous or anxious at the same time. So I'm interested in hearing what makes you excited and or nervous, and trust, both can exist at the same time. You can be excited and nervous, or one or the other. So utilize the chat and let us know what makes you excited or nervous about home ownership. Feel free to come off of chat as well. I'm sorry, off of mute if you want to share. What makes you excited and or nervous about homeownership? Hey, oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Well, the excited part is being able to like, set it up how I want it and to own it.
Okay.
And the other part of it is, like when work slows down, being able to afford it.
Fair enough.
That's the only
Understandable. Thank you for sharing. Those are definitely things to be excited and nervous about. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else before we move on? Super excited about this, having something that you dreamed of. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm excited about home ownership because there'll be something that I own and it's mine, and something that I can pass on to future children and family members in the very near and distant future.
Great. Thank you for sharing. You'll find in our presentation that was one of the things that Maggie Walker took very seriously, legacy. And there is opportunity for legacy and passing on this home to your descendants as well, owning your own place. Absolutely. Okay, let's keep that chat going as we move forward. Next slide, please. So here are some places that we are. I'll start in the bottom right-hand corner in Ettrick. Ettrick is right on the line of Chesterfield and Petersburg. It's not too far from Virginia State University. We're excited that we're moving forward with a subdivision there. 10 homes. We have made great progress. There are several under contract and several that are sold. So we're very excited about this. This is our first subdivision, but we're also all over the city of Richmond. We're in Randolph, the East End, North Side, every part of Richmond. We're also in Henrico and Chesterfield. Okay, so we acknowledge that there's so much going on nationally when it comes to housing and home ownership, but we're hopeful that what we do here at Maggie Walker Community Land Trust can grow home ownership right here at home. Next slide, please.
Candace,
Yes.
sorry, can you actually go back to that last slide? I want to do the preferences
Sure.
poll. So as you can see here on this slide, we have homes all over the region. I'm just going to launch a quick poll to ask you where you might be interested in living in the Richmond region, and also how big of a house you would want ideally. So please take a minute to fill out this survey. It's not required. If you can't see it or it's not working, don't worry about it. It's just to help us. Thank you. I'm going to keep it open for about 15 more seconds. If you don't see it, again, no worries. All right. Thank you all.
Laura, did you want to cover the poll or keep moving? Either way is fine with me.
Let's just keep moving.
Okay. Thank you all for participating in that. And as Flora mentioned, it just helps us in seeing what the need is and trying to meet that need as we pursue other housing opportunities. So thank you for those that did respond. So let's talk a little bit more, dig a little bit deeper in Community Land Trust. We are a nonprofit organization. We are community-based and we offer permanently affordable home ownership. What does that mean? I use air quotes when I say affordable because everyone's trying to afford wherever they live, right? But that permanent affordability piece is what makes a community land trust different and unique. Because of the subsidy and the way that our program is organized, should you sell your home, you would sell your home to someone that's basically in the same situation, that financially they still meet the same requirements. So basically the program is pulling someone into home ownership. And if you decide to sell, you are pulling someone into home ownership. So it is an act of reciprocity. Okay. So again, CLTs reduce the cost of home ownership. Because of the subsidy that we put into the home, and that keeps the home affordable for the future longevity of the home. Next slide, please. So when we talk about permanent affordability, it is something that we consider right now, but also it is a future endeavor as well. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is how it works. A family, and that could be a family of one. So it's not just the traditional sense of a family, whatever that means, right? But it can be one person. That person purchases a home that sits on the land. That land is owned by the CLT. That home is affordable because the person purchases the home and again leases the land, okay? Purchases the home, owns the home, and leases the land. And they agree to a resale formula that gives limited equity when and if they decide to sell. That is how the house maintains permanent affordability. That limited resale piece is there so that the next person can income qualify and gain home ownership the same way that the original purchaser purchased the home, okay? So when it's time to sell, you only sell your house and the land will never be sold, okay? Next slide, please. So again, some other unique things about owning through a CLT. Your home must be your primary residence, meaning that you must reside in the home for the majority of the year. You cannot rent out the home. You cannot Airbnb the home. And the reason for that is that this is an affordable housing program. So if you're living somewhere else, and you can afford to live somewhere else, this is not the program for you, and you would be in violation of the ground lease that you will sign. Renovations must be approved. Let me clarify what we mean by renovations. If you want to renovate in a way that requires a permit from the city or county, then it must be approved. If you want to build a fence, you want to change out fixtures, you want to paint, we would love to know those things so that we can document what kind of changes are being made to the home, but that does not require a permit, nor does it require permission from the board. Okay, so again, anything with a permit needs permission from the board. It needs to be approved. Any other changes, i.e. painting, changing fixtures, even a fence, we want to know about that so that we can document it, but it doesn't need approval. When it comes to the fence, it is in your best interest to let us know about that ahead of time. Because you want to make sure that that fence is going on the property line. So if you were to put the fence down and you were over the property line, it would be your responsibility to correct that, okay? So anything like that, you definitely want to let us know. And then the last thing that makes the CLT or home ownership through a CLT unique is that you will build equity. So you earn all of the equity from your mortgage payments. plus the increase in value of the home, which is determined by the increase in the area median income. So whatever the area median income is, you'll see that referred to in this presentation as AMI, area median income. That is what the resale structure is based on if you do choose to sell. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit more about the ground lease. The ground lease is a 99-year ground lease. It is a legal document. This is standard across the board with any home ownership program in a community land trust. This does not mean that you are tied to the land for 99 years. It does mean, however, that the home is tied to the land and to the program for 99 years. There's a 99-year ground lease, okay? And that restricts the price that the house can be resold. Again, going back to that act of reciprocity and keeping the home at an affordable rate for the next purchaser, okay? That ground lease is $100 a year. So you're leasing the land once a year for $100, and you can pay that in increments as well. Again, we mentioned legacy with Maggie Walker. So this is another way that we make sure that we're doing that. Your home is completely inheritable. Okay, so you can pass down your home to your heirs, regardless of income, as long as they will use the property as their primary home. They also can sell the home if that's what they choose to do, okay? One of the unique things that we also offer with this program is life planning documents. So we set things up so that if you decide to purchase through us, you have an opportunity to meet with lawyers, pro bono lawyers that will help you with life planning documents. That's inclusive of an advance directive, which says how you want your medical care to be, what that care looks like if something happens to you or when something happens to you. And again, a will that will allow you to move this huge asset to your heirs if you choose to do so. Next slide, please. Okay, so the board governance. All nonprofit organizations are ran by a board, and this is the makeup of our board. It is 1/3 community members, 1/3 current homeowners, and 1/3 public members. Some people on our board are in the housing sector, and we strongly encourage, if you decide to purchase through Maggie Walker Community Land Trust and a homeowner seat should come available, we welcome you to join in. We love to have homeowners on the board serving. Next slide, please. So we go a little bit more into program eligibility, which I'm sure everyone wants to hear more about. So we'll unpack this a little bit more as the presentation goes, but simply put, you must income qualify, okay? You must agree to the terms of the ground lease, which is what we just talked about. And you must be approved for pre-approval, not pre-qualification, a pre-approval for a minimum of $150,000 from one of our approved lenders. You have 2 lenders on the call. Their information is in the chat. They would love to talk to you. And then there are other lenders that are listed on our website. You definitely want to date before you marry, meaning ask all of the questions, do some research, and ask questions of your lenders that you have before making that decision. And then lastly, you cannot own another home at the time of your closing, okay? So you must not own a home at the time of your closing. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit more about income qualifications. We've mentioned that you must income qualify. It is based on these numbers. Now, we did not create these numbers. These are HUD standard numbers when it relates to Richmond and vicinity. So Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield. In our 80% program, which is where we have the majority of our homes, a 1-person household cannot make more than this, okay? So these are the maximum numbers, not the minimum. So a one-person household cannot make more than $61,800. In the shaded blue area, you see 115 AMI. Currently, we don't have any homes in the 115 program, but should that come available in the future, these are the numbers that will govern that program as well. So let's just say a three-person household could not make more than $114,200. Okay, again, this is the max, not the minimum. And again, AMI stands for Area Median Income. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll take a moment to answer any questions that you have. You can utilize the chat or come off mute. What you see here, and Jen, if you're able to come off mute and talk about this home, or I can, the home that we see on the picture.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Candace. So this is an example of one of the properties that Maggie Walker delivers. As Candace has been mentioning throughout this presentation, we offer an affordable home ownership opportunity, but we also provide quality. Here you see the kitchen. Most of our kitchens have an open floor plan concept, stainless steel appliances, and hardwood flooring throughout. This property was actually built in Midlothian in partnership with the Richmond Land Bank. We sold this property, I want to say, for $180,000 in partnership with Mary White from Town Bank, who was on the line. And Mary, I'm not sure if you remember how much this home appraised for, but I would like to see if we can share that with our guests on the call, just to give an example of how our affordability model works as it relates to the appraised value.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I do know that generally speaking, the homes I have done so far at Maggie Walker are coming in close to $300,000 and over.
Thank you, Mary. And this is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, which is our very first home that featured a downstairs primary bedroom and 2 bedrooms upstairs and a full laundry room. So if you have any questions, please come off mute or type it in the chat.
So this home sold for $190,000.
Thank you.
We did have one question in the chat, or 2 questions. What if a parent has a child who's applying for MWCLT on their deed, but the child is not on the mortgage? So basically, what if there's a parent and child on the deed of a house, but the child is not on the mortgage and the child wants to apply for MWCLT?
Thank you,
Sure, I
Flora.
understand.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Oh, I was just going to say I don't really understand the situation, but if you can answer it, Candace, that's.
Yes, we would need a little bit more information to answer that. I mean, if that person, if that person's name is on a deed, it will read as though that person is owning the home. And so that would make that person ineligible because they are listed as a owner of the home, regardless of the mortgage. So we can unpack that a little bit more personally.
And I would like to add, Candace, that we do offer life planning documents. So if your concern is to pass your property down to your heirs, then we do offer that service. And we'll talk about that later on in the presentation, how that can be done.
And then we have some more questions. Does AMI income requirements apply just to purchasing or to the life of ownership as well? That applies just to the time of purchase. So after you purchase the home, we don't care how much money you make. What are the qualifications for being self-employed?
So we still look at your income. So we have a method for calculating based on your Schedule C and your tax returns. So we average those two amounts. But we definitely have a number of folks that are self-employed who are in our program.
Okay, and I got a question that says, does it have to be conventional loan or can it be FHA?
It has to be conventional.
Yes, no FHA loans. And how often do you receive new homes for the program? I would qualify in the 115 AMI. I'll let you guys speak on that if you want to.
We don't get them often, actually. There may be some opportunities in the future, but as of right now, most of our homes are in an 80% program. I would say that if you're interested and it may be advantageous for you to go ahead and put in your application, but honestly, right now we don't have anything in the 115 program, but there may be some in the future. Future meaning, I don't know how soon, maybe within the year or so, but I'm not sure about that. Any additional questions before we move forward, everyone? Okay, well, let's keep moving. And again, please feel free to continue to put your questions in the chat. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about how the program works. And Elizabeth, I will pass it on to you.
Thank you, Candace. So I'm going to do a high level of how our program makes homes affordable to homeowners. So this is an example of one of our homes in Richmond in the Randolph neighborhood. So this home appraised for a total of $340,000. And the way that we were able to sell it to a homeowner for $180,000 is that we removed the land value, and then we added additional subsidies from grants and fundraising to that amount to lower the sales price to the buyer. So with a lower sales price by removing the cost of the land, this homeowner borrowed less money, they had lower monthly payments, and then a much lower down payment than they would have purchasing on the conventional market for that full price of $340,000. So this is just a very high level overview of a monthly mortgage payment. So you do build equity by paying your monthly mortgage payment through your principal. And this is just a very big overview example. It's much more complicated, but in the interest of time, I'll just go through this example quickly, which shows that at the beginning of your mortgage payment, you really are paying mostly interest into your payment, but the longer you're in your home, the more money goes into your principal. So this is a concept that holds true with most mortgages, not just CLT homes. And in addition to your loan payment, you also pay an escrow, and that is the part of your monthly payment that goes to your insurance and to the taxes in your locality. So one of the other affordability features of our program is that as a homeowner, you are responsible for the taxes on the house, but not the land. So because we are the land bank for Henrico, Chesterfield, and the city of Richmond, the land is tax exempt. So you will not be paying additional taxes on the land. In addition to that, there is a state legislation that says that CLT homeowners cannot be taxed on the full market value of their home. So you can only be taxed on the rate that you could be able to sell your home for according to the ground lease. And so this is another feature for affordability. So especially in high value real estate markets, this is something that makes our program affordable to homeowners. So in addition, you are, as a homeowner, you are responsible for the care and upkeep of your home. So any necessary and routine maintenance, that is your responsibility as a homeowner. And Maggie Walker staff are available to help you, but you are responsible for anything that happens to your home over the time that you're living there. Additionally, you are responsible for the upkeep of your land. So that means mowing the lawn, taking care of dead trees. You can also do what you would like to, as long as it is permitted by your local jurisdiction. So planting a garden, using the land in that way, you are allowed to do that. And then in addition, you do have that $100 annual ground lease fee that you are responsible for. I'm going to hand it over to Jen to tell us about this home. And if there are any other questions at this time, I can answer those as well.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, this home is listed in the Blackwell community, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This home was built in partnership with the Richmond Land Bank. And as you can see, I mentioned quality on our first slide. Here's another example. This kitchen features granite countertops, all stainless steel appliances. This home also came with a wash and dryer included with the sale of this property, hardwood flooring throughout, new construction, so everything new, light fixtures, situated on a corner lot. This property sold for $190,000, and I partnered with Marlon White with CNF Bank.
Thanks, Jen.
We did have a question in the chat that's sort of a two-parter. The first part is, are any houses available right now? To which the answer is no. The second part is, what are the sizes of homes that we typically sell?
So the average square footage for our properties are between 1,400 and 1,500 square feet. We are seeing some a little bit over the 1,500 mark with our Ettrick Landing community, but we average about that size.
And I want to add to the other question that was asked about, are there homes currently available? So if you search online, you try to search for our homes, like on some of the Google sites, you really won't find homes while they are available. You may find them while they're sold. You won't find them while they're available. And the reason for that is our homes are put to people in the applicant pool first, meaning people that have income qualified, all of their documents have been verified, and they then enter the applicant pool. They receive notice of homes as they become available. So we don't have a list of available homes, as we provide the homes to the applicant pool once they become available. We don't build several projects at a time. In fact, this Ettrick development is our first subdivision. It won't be the last, but it is the first. So if you or your realtor is looking for a magic list of properties, it doesn't exist. We just send out homes to the applicant pool as it becomes available. If that home is not desired by somebody in the applicant pool, let's say it's a 2-bedroom home and everyone wants a 3-bedroom, then we would put that home on the online. I can't get the acronym correct. Jen, what is it? The
MLS.
Thank you, Flora. On the MLS. Otherwise, you won't find our homes listed. So I hope that gives some additional information to that question. Okay, we can continue on.
Okay, so what happens when you decide to sell your Maggie Walker home? So your home will be sold to an income qualified buyer. So just like you have to meet the income requirements when you get into our applicant pool, the next buyer must also adhere to those income requirements, and the land remains held in trust. So when you go to sell your home, you are entitled to get back your home's increase in value, and that increase in value is based on the percentage increase in the area median income while over the time that you've been in your home. You're also entitled to any cash equity, so any down payment that you put down on your home, and any earned equity that is just being created by paying off your monthly mortgage payment. So the resale formula is the way that we determine the price for you as a, the resale price. It is how we balance you having a return on your investment while ensuring that the home retains long-term affordability for future buyers. So that is the price is the purchase price plus the increase in value, which is the percent increase in the area median income. So the original area median income is subtracted from the most recently published area median income. And that's, again, those numbers sent by HUD every year. Then divided by the original AMI. So the way that we calculate this is, for example, I'm going to walk through an example. So in the year this home was purchased, the area median income was $83,000. And when the homeowner goes to sell their home, we estimated that the new AMI would be around $90,000. And that is because on average, there's about a 2% increase annually in the AMI in Richmond. So in this scenario, over 5 years that the person has lived in their home, the AMI has increased by $7,000, or about 8.41%. So in multiplying the original sales price by 8.41%, we get to $14,580. So that equity based on the increase in the AMI is that $14,580. And I will just say that the area median income percent is capped at 3% annually. So you can't, if there's something wild in the market, you won't be dramatically increasing. It's capped at 3%. And though historically this has not been the case, if the AMI decreases by the time that you've been in your home, you are still entitled to sell your home for what you've purchased it for. And so a few of the benefits of this are that in the traditional market, the home value is based on the market fluctuation. So this can really fluctuate based on a strong or a weak real estate market. Whereas with the Maggie Walker program, this value is less volatile than market conditions, and it is determined by just that increase in wages. And although it's not based on the market, you are still building equity through the increase in AMI, and you are also building equity by paying your monthly mortgage payment. So example, in 5 years, a homeowner builds $15,000 from paying their principal. So at the time of resale, we look at those 3 factors that go into place in determining your equity. So that would be that $15,500 from your down payment and equity, and then that $14,580 just from the increase in area median income over the time you've been in your house. So that gives us a total of $30,080 in equity. So when we compare that to what the average mortgage payment would be about $1,200, which is similar more or less to average rents in the area. If we were comparing to what this homeowner would have been paying in rent, that over the same amount of time, they would have spent $72,500 in rent, whereas they accrued $30,805 in equity. So the way that the CLT model makes it possible to keep this home affordable for future families is to take that original sales price and then we add on the increase in value of the home to come up with the new value, or sorry, the new price that we will be selling the home for a future buyer. So in this example, the original price was $180, and then we tack on that increase in the value based on the area median income and come to $194,580 as the new price for the next homeowner. So that future price is set so that another family in a similar financial situation will be able to purchase a home. I'm going to pass this over to Jen to tell us about this home in Highland Springs.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right. So this home, as Elizabeth mentioned, is located in Highland Springs. This is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home. No, 2 full baths, 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths. This is our second home that featured a downstairs primary suite. This home was built in partnership with Eagle Construction, and the land was donated by the Richmond Land Bank. As you can see, this property also features hardwood flooring throughout, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and it also conveyed with a washer and dryer. This property sold for $190,000. And I do want to call out that we definitely aim to keep all of our homes priced under $200,000. This was sold in partnership with, I believe it was Mary White from Town Bank. And Mary, I'm not sure if you remember what the appraised value was, or maybe like a ballpark, but if you don't mind sharing that.
Sure. I am pretty sure that this came in somewhere between 280 and 300.
Awesome. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
We have some questions in the chat, if y'all don't mind me reading them out. There were a couple questions. These subdivisions have HOAs. The answer to that was most of the current homes don't have HOAs. However, the homes in Ettrick Landing will have a maintenance fee that maintains common areas. Another question was, can you add on to the homes, as in can you make an addition? Once again, any additions to the home have to be approved by the board, in addition to approving of plans and contractors. This is for the same reason that we mentioned earlier, that any major renovations that need a building permit need to go through the board. And that's because when you spend a lot of money to improve your house like that, we need you to understand that the house, the sale price of the house is still controlled by the resale formula and not by how much, you know, the actual market value of the house would be. Once you've been added to the applicant pool, how long does it take to be placed in a home?
Thank you, Flora. So that question varies, but typically it varies because people are in the applicant pool and may be waiting for one particular community over another. So from the time that we release a home that maybe you're interested in, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go further, but it can take 45 to 60 days, especially if you're using down payment assistance. Considering the inspection process, we like to say 45 to 60 days. Also, I see another question about the 115 program. And I mentioned it earlier. However, what happens is we don't necessarily determine whether a home is going under the 80 or the 115 program. It really is contingent upon the subsidy that's attached to it. And that can be contingent upon the county that it is located in or city of Richmond. Typically, it's in one of the counties. The picture that you see in front of you, we do have, as Jen mentioned, 2 homes. Both were in Eastern Henrico. One was under the 80% program. The other was under the 115 program. And so we don't know when that's going to happen. Again, it's really connected to the subsidy that we get to do the home. So my suggestion to you is to cast a wide net. Again, this is an alternate route to home ownership. There are other programs out there that we'll talk about, but if you are interested, it may be helpful for you to put your application in, even if it sits while you're exploring other options as well. But unfortunately, I can't give a date and time when homes in the 115 will become available.
There was another question. Someone asked, will this information be shared with the attendees on the call? Yeah, if you are logged into the call right now, that means we have your email, we have your contact information, and I will be sending out an email with these slides, a recording of the session, as well as other resources after. So thank you for that.
Okay, let's get it moving. I believe, Shabana, you're up on this part.
Yes. Great. So now we're going to go into how to become, how to be in the applicant pool for the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. Next slide. So just a few things to think about as you are going on your home ownership journey. So what % of my income can I spend on housing? What my credit score and debt to income ratio are. Those things both are things that'll come up with your lender in that conversation, also just over time as you are. Excuse my cat for interrupting us. She is very enthusiastic about affordable home ownership. How much am I currently spending on housing and how much am I comfortable paying? So while you may talk with a lender and be approved for a certain amount, there's also consideration for how much in your budgeting and your personal budgeting and needs, how you will fit what you feel comfortable with. And also if you have the ability for if and when emergencies happen, a rainy day fund. So that's always something to think about. How long have I been at my current job? As we'll talk about in a moment, the application does require some information about employment. And so if you're at a place where you're new to your job or switching jobs, you may have some more information you will have to provide us. And so thinking about the timing of that as you take on this possible opportunity. And then again, how much savings do you have for emergency or repairs? Being a homeowner comes with certain responsibilities. And so being prepared for the financial piece of that as well. Next slide.
Can I add something before you go further, Shabana?
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, keep in mind, Shabana mentioned how much savings do you have for emergencies and maintenance. We also want to mention you need savings for your earnest money deposit, for an appraisal, as well as your inspection. Okay, those are things that you'll need upfront before you even get to closing. Okay, so you're going to need earnest money deposit, you're going to need money for the appraisal, and you're going to need money for your inspection. Your realtor should be able to talk to you a little bit more about that. Again, Jen's information is in the chat as well. She could give you some more information about that if you don't have a realtor. Thank you, Shabana.
Yeah, thanks, Candace. So next slide, going into the steps of the application process. So you have taken the first step by attending this information session. So congratulations, you can check that off your list. And after completing this information session, you will start by contacting one of your lenders to get your mortgage pre-qualification. And so our website does list the approved lenders that we work with. Let me see. Oh, sorry. My cat is continuing to be very disruptive. After that, you'll be submitting an application with Maggie Walker. We actually recently launched a new way to for folks to submit applications that we're really excited about. And so as a part of that application, you will have some income documentation, and we'll go over that in the next slide. And you will also then complete a HUD-approved home buyer education course. There are different organizations, partner organizations that provide approved HUD education courses that you would take. There are some I think are in person, some can be done virtually, and these courses will have some type of certification at the end that you would receive to show that you completed it. So that'd be a part of your application package. And then once you have submitted all of the documents, it takes us about, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks to process everything, especially if you send a paper application. And you will receive an email whether you are officially in the applicant pool or not. Next slide. Yeah, and so we have a new application that we have just launched on our website. Our hope is that this will streamline the process a little bit better for folks, make it easier on your end as applicants, as well as on our end as folks processing the applications. One of the features is if you start the application, you are able to save it and go back to where you were. And so that's a feature we hope is helpful. There's also a PDF version of the application that's available if you want to look over before you even click on the online link to apply, or if you are someone who prefers paper applications, we do take that. Okay, next slide. So this is more details on the income documents that will be required as a part of the application package that you're going to submit. And so 3 months of your most recent pay stub and benefit statements. And so that, again, in the earlier slide when we talked about how long you've been at your current job, whether you're in a place of transition, if you are someone who is thinking of moving jobs, you know, this might get a little complicated for your application process and the type of documents you may have. Next is the 2 most recent federal tax returns, matching W-2s or 1099s, and then 6 months of bank statements for savings, checkings, and investments. And so again, these are all things it may take some time for you to get through and gather all this information. So if and when you are ready to start the application, just keep these things in mind and give yourself the time and space to get all these documents together. Next slide. And so, as we mentioned, there are some organizations in the area that also do work around housing affordability. And here are 2 that we mention and work with quite often. Home Housing Opportunities Made Equal. They provide counseling services, and they also have a program that provides access to down payment assistance. We have a lot of homeowners that have come through a program that use down payment assistance. And Southside Community Development also provides both those things. We will note that with down payment assistance, the process of closing can take a little bit longer. So I think we add about 45 to 60 days, depending on the process, just because there's a few more steps that are required when down payment assistance is used. HUD has a few things, and we all have to come together and get that all worked out. So if you are thinking of a timetable and you plan on using down payment assistance, you should add 15 to like 20 days to your targeted kind of date of closing. Next slide. And then again, just as Candace mentioned earlier, we are not the only option or route to owning a home. And so we encourage folks to look at all the ways and options that you may realize that dream for yourself. And so here are just a few organizations that provide different types of information, whether it is counseling on financial things or down payment assistance, or just more information about all the things that come with application processes, lending, all of the things. So these are just a few organizations that we recommend that can also be helpful. And next slide. And so the post-purchase stewardship, and so my role as a stewardship and engagement coordinator is to be the main point of contact for homeowners once they go through the buying process with Elizabeth. So once you buy a home, we don't just say bye-bye, good luck. You become a part of our Maggie Walker Community Land Trust family. I will ensure to at least quarterly, I promise to bother you with an email and ask how you're doing. And a part of that is, as mentioned earlier, the ground lease fee. So the $100 ground lease fee, that is something that you'll hear from me about. Among other things, we are also here to be a resource. And also any way we can be a conduit for homeowners to be in community with each other. You are part of a larger family of folks who are Maggie Walker Community Land Trust homeowners across the Richmond region. And so we definitely want that piece to also be something that we can help facilitate. And as always, I'm here as a homeowner. You are responsible for things like maintenance and any emergencies, but we are also here to be helpful as we can. Next slide. Okay, I think we turn it back to Candace.
Yeah, thanks, Shabana. Thank you so much. So just by way of recap, we've gotten through a lot today, but I do also want to share this tonight, rather, not today. If you are leasing somewhere, if you're in a lease or renting somewhere and there's a date that you need to leave and you're trying to balance that date with purchasing a home, we strongly advise you to not plan it that way. For several reasons. One, we use what's called a buyer prioritization policy. It's listed on our website. When or if and when there's more than one person interested in a property, again, that's on the website. But also we can't monitor how long the process is. As Shabana mentioned, 45 to 60 days, but anything can happen, right? So you want to make sure you are setting yourself up for success. And I want to make sure we're setting you up for success. So don't try to end your lease on 1 month and think that you're going to move in the next month. There's a lot of things that can happen in between. Okay. So we want to make sure we're sharing that with you as well. So by way of recap, the first thing, owner occupancy, you must reside in your Maggie Walker Community Land Trust home full-time. There is no subleasing or Airbnb. You can rent out a room in your home. However, again, you must live in your home and be the primary resident full-time, okay? Any violations of that violates your ground lease, and you don't want to do that. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about resale. To recap what Elizabeth mentioned to you, your home does increase in value over time. That is based on area median income, AMI, which means we would look at that resale structure based on the AMI income, not the market, okay? The home also cannot be resold for full market value, and whoever purchases the home must income qualify as well. Maintenance and repairs, you are responsible for maintenance and repairs, just like any other homeowner would be responsible. The homes do come with a 1-year warranty. Our new homes do come with a 1-year warranty. Remodeling, there was also a question in the chat about adding on to your home. Anything that requires a permit needs to be approved by the board. That's inclusive of plans and contractors. Anything that does not require a permit, i.e. fence, structures, painting, anything like that, you do not need permission, but we do want to know that it's happening. And then also what's important is that land lease fee, $100 a year. Shabana will send you a reminder of that payment, and that is your payment for using the land. Okay, let's see if we have any questions in the chat. I know that there was one question, I did answer it, about inspections. So I want to dig a little bit deeper in that. And I think in analogies, so bear with me. Think about it in the sense of if you're buying a new car, you still test drive it. right? Same scenario. You want to have your home inspected because the assumption is that a brand new home will have no problems. Not necessarily true. It might not have major problems, but there may be some repairs that are needed, minor repairs, but an inspection covers you and protects you. It is your insurance. So you definitely want to have an inspection on a home, whether you purchase through this program or anywhere. Make sure that you inspect your home, okay? Are there any other questions before we wrap up? I also want to mention, and while I'm saying this, I don't see any questions in the chat. Feel free to utilize that. While I'm saying this, Flora, if you want to put up the surveys, and I guess we can, while
Yeah.
Flora is doing that, thank you. While Flora is putting up the surveys, there's some information listed. CCC, Credit Counseling, Catholic, Commonwealth Catholic Charities will work with you on budgeting. So maybe you're here, you want to purchase, but there's still some work needed on your credit, or you just want someone to sit down with you about your budget. Contact Commonwealth Catholic Charities, and then the housing resource line is there for any additional questions that you have about home ownership or housing in and of itself.
I just wanted to say really quick, so the quiz you see on your screen, there are 4 questions. Scroll all the way down to see all the questions. If you don't know the answer to a question, you can skip it. It doesn't matter. It's not graded. This is just to see how we're doing in terms of making sure you understand the material. So please answer those questions if you see them on your screen. There were a couple questions in the chat. One of them was about Ettrick Landing. As far as I know, there is no second phase of Ettrick Landing planned. It's just these 10 homes, and all of them will be 80% AMI. And as well, we have folks waiting for those that have been waiting for a long time. Another person asked about rent-to-own options. We don't have any rent-to-own options right now. We did have a pilot program in the past inside the city of Richmond. We are working on, or we are thinking about evaluating whether to do another version of that program. So if you're waiting for that, don't hold your breath. It's going to take a while to get that off the ground. Someone asked, although I'm going to be trying to get a house, I'm also a contractor and was wondering if I can get in on doing the electrical part of the houses that are being built. As far as I know, I think I'm not sure how our contracting works, and I don't know how much of the construction works, but does anybody know?
Sure,
maybe we can give this person's contact info to Durante.
Yeah, so a few things, Kelvin. Thank you for your question as everyone works on the survey. So that setup is more so of a Habitat for Humanity setup in terms of sweat equity. If you're thinking about it from that perspective, where someone volunteers time and then that's an exchange for them hours.
What I got from Kelvin's message is that he is a contractor and wants to work for us.
I didn't gather that. Okay. We can take your information. I don't know if you mean that in terms of whatever, if you're talking about just working with us as a contractor, or if you mean that in terms of the home. The next slide, Elizabeth, if you don't mind putting it up, puts our email addresses are listed. It's our first name and then at MWCLT. So feel free to email us. You can email me, and I'll put my email in the chat for you to reach out directly. So any additional questions before we go into the survey? Okay,
Okay.
what are our results?
Yeah, so
They,
from the folks who answered, we have a few people who are going to submit right away, some who aren't so sure, which no worries, no pressure. In terms of the quiz answers, true or false, MWCLT homes are fully inheritable. They can be passed down to your heirs regardless of income, as long as they'll use the property as their primary residence. That is true. And everyone who answered that question got it right, so props to everyone there. What equity will you get back when you sell your MWCLT home? Your down payment, the loan principal you've paid off through monthly mortgage payments, your home's increase in value, or all of the above? The answer there is all of the above, and about half of folks who answered got that one right. So your the loan principal that you pay off through your monthly mortgage payments increases the longer you spend in the home. So basically, the longer you live there, the more you pay your mortgage payments on time, the more equity you own in your house. So basically, the more the bank, the less the bank has to take back from your sale proceeds in order to pay off your mortgage loan when you sell it. And in terms of your home's increase in value, obviously, if you can sell your home for more when you do decide to sell, then that goes directly to you as well, because the amount of your mortgage doesn't increase. It's fixed at what you bought it for when you bought the house. And you get the loan principal that you've paid off, plus any down payment that you put down from your own cash. So all of the above. Finally, how will your MWCLT home increase in value? Based on the market rate appraisal, based on the increase in the Richmond area median income, or it will not increase in value? The answer is based on the increase in the Richmond area median income. And most people got this one right, so props to those folks there. Once again, to remind y'all, the market rate appraisal is, those crazy big numbers you'll see that are like 300, 400, 500,000 for a 3-bedroom house. We don't want the homes increasing in value like that. Instead, we tie them to the Richmond area median income, which increases at a much steadier pace and slower pace. So that basically ensures affordability of the homes in perpetuity. So thanks y'all for taking this quiz.
thanks, Flora. Well, it's been a great evening. Thank you all for all of the questions that you had tonight. Again, our email addresses are before you, and mine is in the chat. Feel free to contact me with any personal questions that you might have that you may not have wanted to share publicly on this platform. And the person with the question about contracting, also feel free to reach out to me. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, Flora will be sending this presentation out to you so that you can see the recording. Check out our website. There's also additional information inclusive of the application on our website. Thank you so much and have a good night.